You are listening to the Technical Foul Podcast for Monday, July 30th, 2018. I'm your host, Manny Fresh. And yes, I'm back from a much-needed 2-week break from the podcast. It was kind of an unannounced break. I was only going to take a week off. I had kind of planned this in my head that I was going to take a week off, but it ended up being 2 weeks. Spend some time with the family, and I didn't go anywhere. I didn't go out of town. I didn't take a real vacation, unfortunately. No. That doesn't come till December, maybe, if everything goes right. But, no real vacation. Just took a little break from the podcast, kind of situating some stuff with the name of the new, the new name, the new logos, which I'll have an announcement for at the end of the show. But just getting some stuff, some in-house stuff situated on the podcast, and just decided to take a little break. I was only going to do 1 week, but because the wife went to Vegas 2 weeks ago with her friends, so I kind of knew that weekend was going to kind of not be a weekend where I was going to be able to do the podcast. Obviously, I had my kids, so just decided that weekend I wasn't going to do the show. So I already had to kind of plan that in my head. And then this past weekend, yesterday, mainly, or Saturday, I had a chance to do the podcast, and I just decided, not to, kind of decided to take another week off just to recharge the battery, make you guys miss me for a change. I know you guys all miss me, of course, but, so I just decided to take an extra week off, and, I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to do a show. I was going to actually wait till Sunday to do a show, or next Sunday to do the show. But I figured, you know what? I got a lot of stuff. That's the thing when you take breaks from like doing a podcast or a show. It's like the sports world is year round. So it's like even like the slow, dead part of the year, like it's still news. There's still stuff coming out. So, you take a week off or you take 2 weeks off. I mean, it's like you feel like you missed out on so much. I mean, the last time I came at you guys was the Monday before the All-Star game. So it's a solid 2 weeks, and it feels like so much has gone on in those 2 weeks, man. But, yeah, I'm back, man. Back with the show. I'm glad to be back. Always excited to be on the air talking to you guys, man. You guys know that how much I love this, and as long as people listen and continue to listen, I will continue to do this podcast. So yeah, man, I'm back. I'm back. I had so much shit to get off my mind and my chest that, definitely had to jump on a pod this week. So, hopefully you guys enjoy. So much news to get to. Like I said, I'll start with the trade deadline, because it is tomorrow at 4:00. I believe it's still 4:00. I always get it confused between 3:00 and 4:00. And, so it's always weird, but, MLB Trade Deadline. I get it confused with the other trade deadlines. That's why I'm like, because some trade deadlines, I think the NBA one is 3:00. I think the baseball one's 4:00. I could be having these all confused, but either way, be that as it may, the MLB Trade Deadline, the non-waiver trade deadline is tomorrow, at 4:00. Of course, that doesn't always mean that trades get done by then, because as you guys know who follow the sport, trades get done in August, the waiver wire period, in August. So, doesn't always mean that trades, all trades will be done by July 31st or August 1st. That, there's still trades that can happen. Guys clear waivers and et cetera. But the non-waiver trade deadline is tomorrow. And, a lot of moves. I think the first kind of official shot, no, because, we had some deals in June, but of the trade season per se, the big name obviously was Manny Machado. That was kind of the first move. That was the first opening shot, bell, whatever you want to call it, of this trade season. The Dodgers, acquiring Manny Machado. I thought it was a good move for them. I didn't get a chance to talk about it, the week of, obviously, because I was, I didn't do a show, but, I thought it was a good move for the Dodgers. I mean, they lost Seager, so they needed a shortstop in the worst way. They weren't getting a lot of production from that position from the guys that they had filling in. So why not go out and get a guy like Manny Machado? I know there's still some, there's a lot of people within the sport that think that, the Dodgers probably won't re-sign Machado. But I wouldn't rule it out. First of all, it's very rare that the Dodgers have a starting shortstop in Corey Seager, a guy who's a pretty good baseball player, an all-star, a guy who's been highly touted, top prospect, has come up, has lived up to those expectations for the most part. I even though I think he's a little overrated. I mean, when Corey Seager came up, I mean, people were talking about him as the next Cal Ripken, and he hasn't quite lived up to those expectations, but he's been pretty good. Like, he's been a pretty good baseball player. He's been an all-star, so he's been as advertised for the most part. But it's very rarely that you lose a guy like Corey Seager. You know, a star, not a superstar, but a star, good player, very good player, a cornerstone player, I would say, on a team. And then you get to upgrade that guy. And then you lose that guy with an injury for the season. You know, you had Tommy John surgery on his elbow. And then you upgraded that position with arguably a better player. Think about it. The Dodgers lose Corey Seager. And a lot of times when you lose guys like that, you don't just get an opportunity to trade for a guy like Manny Machado. I mean, usually you get a lower level player, a guy who's not exactly as good as the guy that you replace, but can fill that need, can fill that hole. The Dodgers arguably, they kind of got a better player than Corey Seager and Manny Machado. So, and I don't think anybody in the baseball world would argue that Manny Machado was better than Corey Seager. So the Dodgers, a huge upgrade at that position. And if they're ever able to re-sign him, I wouldn't rule it out. I mean, the Dodgers did. I mean, I don't get into the whole prospect rankings and who's who and who's what. You know, I'm not smart enough to, I mean, I follow it just like any other baseball fan. I know the big name prospects, but I can't tell you guys in single A. I'm not capable of, I'm not capable of that. I'm not Keith Law. I'm not, you know, I'm not those guys that study it, that's their job to follow every single minor league organization. For all we know, the Dodgers gave up a bunch of stiffs, and for all we know, the Dodgers gave up 2 really good players and other 2 that have a potential. They gave up 4 prospects total. 2 of them could end up being great. 2 of them can end up being bums. All 4 can end up being bums. All 4 can end up being great. I mean, we don't know. It's Russian roulette with these trades, with these prospects. So, as far as we know, you know, so as far as we know, I mean, that's it. So, but anyway, yeah, I mean, I think it was a good move for the Dodgers, and I wouldn't rule them out completely of re-signing Machado. I think that, if he goes out and he balls, and he's played okay, he hasn't, you know, exactly lit the world on fire. He's got some good hits. I mean, he's gotten his hits. I mean, Machado was having a monster year before he got to the Dodgers, so his numbers are still really good. I wouldn't say he's tearing it up for the Dodgers, but he's been okay. If he balls out, you know, the next 2 months and into the postseason and the Dodgers win a World Series, then, you know, I could say the Dodgers, you know, I don't think they're slam dunks to re-sign them, but I mean, you always have to count the Dodgers in because the Dodgers have money. The Dodgers have more money than they could burn at this point. So, you know, I don't think they care about necessarily going out there and investing a long-term contract in Manny Machado. I think he's the type of guy that they would probably do it for. And, you know, they have some money coming off those books. So, you know, it's not going to be, I know that they do have to pay, Kershaw. Kershaw's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. But, you know, the Dodgers, I don't think the Dodgers are in a financial stranglehold where they can't make that commitment if they wanted to. So, it's going to be interesting. And of course, they could always move Machado to third. I know he's been adamant that he doesn't want to play third base, but when you give a guy $300 million and you say, hey, you're going to play third base, the guy's going to play third base. Like, but I don't think so. I mean, I think in that situation, I think they probably would move Seager to third. I mean, they have options there. I mean, they can move Justin Turner to first base. They could obviously move Seager to third and Machado to keep Machado at short, or they can move Machado to I'm stumbling over here. I'm a little rusty, guys. Sorry. They can move Machado. They can move, and I'm Hispanic. That's the worst part. They can move Machado to third base and keep Seager at short, and then probably just move Turner to either second or first. I mean, there's ways they can configure it, but we'll have to worry about that in November and December and during the off season. But, I thought it was a good move for the Dodgers. I mean, I don't think you can blame the Dodgers, for making that move. To get a guy like Manny Machado at the trade deadline, I mean, you almost have to do it if you're a contending team and you have a need at that position, especially. I think you have to do it. I mean, you almost have to do it. So, good move by them. The Dodgers have played well, really. I mean, this is a team that started 10 games, started very badly. They were 10 games under 500 at one point. Now they're 12 or 13 games over, I believe. Just an amazing turnaround that they've had. I still have questions about their starting rotation. I don't love their starting rotation. I mean, it seems like it's the same thing every year with the Dodgers. I just I don't love that starting rotation. Outside of Kershaw, and we all know Kershaw's had his issues in the postseason and now with the back and everything like that. I just don't love that rotation. Outside of Kershaw, who do you trust in that rotation? Alex Wood? Ryu? I mean, that rotation's, buyers beware with that rotation. I do not love that rotation at all in a postseason series. And their bullpen hasn't been as good as it's been the last few years. I think they miss Brandon Morrow. I think, Jansen's been, Jansen hasn't had the same dominant like year that he's had in the past. He's blown some saves early. He's been better lately, but, Jansen hasn't been the lights out guy that he's been in the past, but he's still very good. And I still, for the most part, would trust him if I'm a Dodger fan. But outside of Jansen, I mean, everybody else in that bullpen's a question mark. So, I think the question marks still remain with the Dodgers. If that pitching staff good enough in a 7-game series to win them a title? And we'll find out. The other moves, the Yankees, you do what the Yankees do. I mean, they made 2 really good moves. They got Britton mostly to keep him out of the Red Sox and the Astros' hands, but they also did have a need. They needed another left-hander in that bullpen in the worst way. The guy that they had in there, I think it was Shreve, was just terrible. So the Yankees they needed the addition in the worst way, and they went out and got Zach Britton. And it doesn't sound like they gave up much to get him. Dylan Tate, I know Dylan Tate's highly touted, but he's also a guy that's been traded twice in a span of a year. So, I don't know. That always worries me when guys are, such ballyhooed, overhyped. You know what I mean? Like guys that are overhyped prospects, they usually don't get traded that many times within a calendar year. A lot of times it's circumstance, but, I don't know. That would concern me if I'm an Oriole fan. But, they didn't really give up much to get Zach Britton, Dylan Tate. I forgot who else they got. Oh shit. I forgot the other prospect that they got, McKinney. So, I mean, they got pieces back. We'll see what happens with those guys. Hopefully for the Orioles, Dylan Tate matriculates into something. McKinney, becomes something. Who knows? Like I said, who knows with these prospects? It's Russian roulette. It's Russian roulette, really. So, the Orioles traded Britton, and the Yankees also made a deal to get J.A. Happ. I know a lot of Yankee fans are fucking butthurt because J.A. Happ isn't a Cy Young Award winner that the Yankees thought that they could buy at the trade season. Because this is why people hate the Yankee fans. If you listen to local radio in New York, Yankee fans are bitching. Mind you, this is a team that's like 30 games over 500. They're guaranteed to make the playoffs. They have one of the best rosters in all of the sport. And they're bitching and moaning because the Yankees didn't go out there and get a superstar pitcher. Like they have nothing else. Like they have everything else, but of course they wanted, and they wanted an all-star. They wanted, they wanted Jacob deGrom. They wanted Noah Syndergaard. And this is the thing with the Yankee fans. They want these guys and they don't want to give up anything. We want Jacob, we want Jacob deGrom. Okay. So give us Gleyber Torres. Oh, we can't do that. Oh, no. What? You crazy? We can't give you Gleyber Torres. You got to give up something to get something. This is why I can't stand fucking Yankee fans, but whatever. So a lot of them are butthurt that they got J-Happ. Look, J-Happ he is what he is. I'm not, like, if I was a Yankee fan, I wouldn't be like, oh my God, we got J-Happ. Like, he helps. He fills a need. I think they needed another arm in that rotation. I could argue that they need another pitcher in that rotation, cause we've all talked about the Yankees rotation and how I don't believe in it. But anyway, J-Happ, I mean, he's this nice, solid pitcher. He's a professional pitcher. You know what you're getting with J-Happ. He's not a guy that, he's not going to wow you. He's a guy that knows how to pitch. He's been around a long time. He's been around the block several times. He knows how to pitch big games. He's a solid pitcher. Does he wow me? Is he the sexy name? No. I can see that move working out one of two ways. He can be one of those guys that comes to the Yankees and is lights out and pitches above and beyond his means. And he's another guy that can come in New York and be, an absolute bust. So we don't know. We'll see what happens. I think he'll be all right for the Yankees. I think he'll be okay. He's a soft tosser, left-hander. He's a guy that relies on movement and guile. The Yankees usually do pretty well with those kind of guys. So I could see him being pretty good. I know he had his first start yesterday, pitched well. So, I think the Yankees, I think for the most part did okay. Britton obviously is the bigger name, obviously, of the two acquisitions. And he's a guy that is dominant. And now the Yankees have the best bullpen, maybe of all time. I mean, when you think about the names in that bullpen, The Yankees may have the best bullpen ever assembled. Think about it. Chapman, Betances, Robertson, Britton, they still got Chad Green, those four guys there alone, those guys would be closers on any other team. Think about it. Betances will be a closer on any other team. Chapman, we know about Chapman. We know about Britton. Chad Green is fucking nasty. And David Robertson is David Robertson. He's been a successful closer in this league before. He's a good setup man. I know he's up and down here and there, but for the most part, he's been pretty good. So the Yankees have we know the Yankees have a great bullpen. That's the one strength outside of their offense that the Yankees have is their bullpen. And the Yankees are going to try to win a World Series like the Royals won a World Series in 2015. They're going to hope and pray that their starters give them 5 decent innings. They're going to hope and pray, and then they're going to let their bullpen, win games for them. That's basically going to be the Yankee formula in 2018 to win a championship. That's their formula. Outside of Severino, the other pitchers in that rotation are going to be 5-inning guys. And the Yankees are not going to hesitate to go to that bullpen. Now, we'll see if that works. A lot of teams have tried to duplicate that. And to varying degrees, I don't think there's been a team that has accomplished it the way the Royals have accomplished it. But, we'll see. We'll see. If anybody can do it, it's the Yankees. Let's just put it that way. If any team can do it, can mimic what the Royals did in 2015 and 2014 and 2015 is the Yankees. So we'll see. We'll see. But, the Yankees made some good moves. Just before I started recording today, the Astros, who I was about to sit here and rip because the Astros had not made any major moves. Unless you count Martin Maldonado, a big move for them. The Astros had not made any major moves. And then they went out and pulled a trade off for Roberto Osuna, the suspended closer of the Toronto Blue Jays, obviously, who got in trouble in March in spring training as video surfaced of him assaulting his girlfriend. He's facing criminal charges. His suspension, I believe, is up August 4th. So he's eligible to return the 5th. And the Astros took a chance on Roberto Osuna. And I think, it's crazy. I think it's a move the Astros had to make, number one. The Astros needed a closer in the worst way. Everybody knows that. The Astros, if they're more than any other team with any other need, the Astros needed a closer. Like, you could take any team and their need. I would argue that the Astros' need for a closer was greater than any other team's need for whatever position they needed. Like everybody in baseball, it was the biggest known secret. Like the Astros needed a reliever. They needed a closer. I could argue they need another reliever on top of Osuna. But they desperately needed Roberto Osuna. And Roberto Osuna is a guy who has a chance to be dominant for them. Now, it's all a matter of his head is on right, because he's a guy that's prone for meltdowns. He's a guy that at times loses his focus. He's had some issues in the past with anxiety and stuff like that, on top of the illegal issues that he's facing. So if he's got his head on right, Ozuna's nasty. He's nasty. He's proven that he can pitch. He's got the balls to pitch in the 9th inning. So I think Ozuna's a big pickup for the Astros. Now, right as I came on, started recording, Verlander was interviewed about it, because Verlander, if you guys don't remember, in spring training when all the things about Ozuna came out, the Astros clubhouse was one of the most vocal in, ripping basically, domestic violence guys, specifically Roberto Ozuna. And Verlander was very strong and very staunch in his language and his words about the guy, and basically hoping the guy that he never has success in baseball again, and blah, 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 I'm paraphrasing. But, Verlander wasn't exactly, the greatest of fan of what, Roberto Osuna did, as nobody should be. The guy, it's sick what he did to his girlfriend. But as you guys know, this is not about morality. This is not about, passing out character achievement awards. This is about winning games. And when you can win games, that takes priority in sports. We all know this, we all have opinions on that, but at the end of the day, it's about winning. And sometimes you have to win with some shady characters. And that's what the Astros are going to do. And I give Verlander credit. They interviewed him and, he didn't try to run and tried to make, oh, well, that's not what I meant. He owned up to it. He said, yeah, I wasn't, too happy with that. And, he basically said, hey, I said it. I stand by those words and, we'll see what happens. He said that they didn't consult him on the move. I think they consulted some players, but they didn't consult Verlander. That's a little interesting. You would think that they would consult, Justin Verlander, one of their best pitchers, arguably their best pitcher, their guy who basically won him a World Series. But whatever, be that as it may. He didn't sound like he was, upset about the move. I guess he understood it, that it's a baseball decision. And, what is he going to say? Hey, I don't want Roberto Ozuna. I don't want a guy that's going to help me win another championship. Like, he's not going to say that. I mean, he may feel that deep down. I'm sure if you give him truth serum, he's probably going to say that. Like, I don't want this fucking bum in my clubhouse. But, I think it's all a matter of how Roberto Ozuna comes in there, presents himself. I'm sure he's going to have to probably speak to his teammates and say, hey, I'm very ashamed. I'm very, sorry for what I've done. I've had 75 games to learn my lesson, etc. Blah, 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 whatever. So I'm sure that'll happen at some point when he comes back. And, the Astros are better today for that move. Now we'll see how it goes. Again, I said Ozuna has the propensity to have meltdowns, and we'll see what happens. But if he's got his head on right, the Astros made a hell of a move in getting Ozuna. And I was about to rip the Astros because I was like, yo, the Astros have to make a move here. And I'm about to rip the Red Sox for their lack of inactivity. But, the Astros needed to make that move. That was a huge move for them to make. I could argue that they could have, held out and, maybe been more aggressive in trying to get Britton. We don't know where those negotiations stood with the Orioles. What did they want or whatever? What the Astros were not willing to give up. I know the Astros were unwilling to give up Kyle Tucker, one of their top prospects, or Derek Fisher, one of the other top prospects. So maybe that was a sticking point. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, I could argue that maybe the Astros should have went after Brad Hand a little bit harder. Even Jerry's Familia, guys that I think are a little bit better than Ozuna, but hey, Ozuna's still really good. So the Astros definitely addressed a need. The other moves, the Brewers to me were a team that definitely needed to do something, and they did something. They added Mike Moustakas. Now, I don't understand this move from the Brewers. I know they desperately needed another bat, especially in that infield, because they've gotten basically nothing out of that middle infield. Villar hasn't had a great year, and Arcia's in the minor leagues. So I get that they really haven't got a lot of production out of that middle infield, but I don't know. I mean, getting Moustakas, and then you're moving Travis Shaw, who's a pretty good third baseman himself, to second base. I don't know how that's going to work. They got Jesus Aguilar at first base. It's going to be interesting how the Brewers kind of make all that work. I mean, I will say it upgrades their offense. I mean, their offense was pretty good without Moustakas, and now you get a guy who gets, who's a gritty, no nonsense, kind of one of those kind of gamer guys that just makes your team better. He knows how to play in big games. He's won a championship. He's got an attitude. He's got a fire. He's got a don't fuck with me attitude. He's a big game player. Couldn't stand him when he was with the Royals, obviously with the whole Syndergaard and the Royals thing. But I mean, Moustakas is a good pickup. I'm not sure if that was their biggest need. If I were them, I would have probably tried to pursue Brian Dozier, who was probably a little bit better fit, but it is what it is. It was a move that I think they had. I'm not going to say they had to make. I think it was a good move for them. I think it upgrades a position of need. I still think they need a starter. I still think they need a starter in the worst way. That rotation to me, I know their bullpen's great, and, we'll get to Mr. Hater, but I know that bullpen is great. But I still think they need another arm in that rotation. Just a guy, a professional pitcher in that rotation that can kind of give them innings, gives them some experience. I would have liked them to go after Cole Hamels. The Cubs got Cole Hamels. I thought that was a good move for the Cubs. I thought they needed I thought they needed a pitcher of Hamels' ilk in the worst way. The Darvish pickup has been a disaster. What did I tell you guys about Darvish? What did I tell you guys at the beginning of the season when they signed you, Darvish? I was like, I didn't understand that move for the life of me. To this day, I still don't understand that move. Did Theo not watch the World Series? Like, seriously, Theo, like, were you on vacation? Were you in the Alps somewhere with your family during the World Series that you didn't watch how terrible Darvish was in that World Series? And then you went out there and you gave him 6 years, $100 million. Like, I don't know. Look, I love Theo, and he's probably the greatest GM of all time. But dog, Gio's free agent decisions have not been great the last few years. Outside of Lester, man, I still can't believe he gave Jason Hayward 8 year, $180 million. I still, for the life of me, can't understand that. Still, for the life of me, can't understand that move. But it's nothing about Jason Hayward. But I thought that was a good move for the Cubs. I thought it was a huge pickup for them. Cole Hamels is, say what you want about him. As a Met fan, I can't stand Cole Hamels, but, there's no denying he's a very, very good pitcher. He has a chance to be this year's Verlander, a guy that, on a bad team, not having the greatest of years, kind of finds himself in a a pennant race again in a postseason run, and he pitches well. I mean, this is a guy that knows his way around big games. He knows how to pitch it when the lights are on bright. He's ready for prime time. He knows what to do. He's won a World Series. He was a World Series MVP. Cole Hamels is a great pitcher. It's a great pitcher, or at one point was a great pitcher. I think he still has the ability to be a very good pitcher, and I think he helps that rotation desperately. I mean, now you got a rotation of Hamels, of Lester, of Hendricks. I still don't love that rotation. I'll be honest. It's better today. Clearly, it's better today, but I still don't love that rotation. Outside of Lester and Hamels, I know Hendricks has had his moments, but those soft tossers in the postseason, I've talked about this before. Soft tossers in the postseason scare the hell out of me. They really do. Guys like Hendricks scare the hell out of me. See Greg Maddux. Greg Maddux was amazing. One of the best pitchers I've ever seen. Was dominant, completely dominant, just unfuckwittable in the regular season. And in the postseason, he struggled. So I never loved those soft tossers in the postseason, but whatever. We'll see what happens. But, the Cubs improved their rotation. The Cubs are a weird team. I don't know. Like, they have the best record in the NL, but it's like, have they really played that well? It's like, it's weird with the Cubs. The Cubs are a team that's had they've had moments within the season. Like, the Cubs have had about a 15 game stretch where they've been really, really great. And then they've had about a 10 game stretch where they were average. Then they had about a 20 game stretch where they were great. Then they had about a 15 game stretch where they were eh. Then they had a 30 game stretch. The Cubs have been just, the Cubs are weird. I've never seen a team that's had a good record. I'd argue a great record. And they really haven't been that impressive. It's like they've won, but it's it's okay. None of their regulars are having great year outside of Javi Baez. Rizzo, say he's had a decent year, but he hasn't had a great year. Bryant's hurt. Schwarber's had his moments. Zobrist has had his moments, but for the most part, they, outside of Baez, they've had guys that just haven't had those great years. Their bullpen, Morrow's been better than I expected. I didn't think Morrow was able to repeat what he did last year, and he's been good when he's been healthy, which is key for Morrow, if healthy. But Morrow's been good for them. I don't love their bullpen at all. To me, I think they need another reliever in the worst way. We all know Joe Madden loves Carl Edwards. God, Carl Edwards. But yeah, so I thought that was a move that the Cubs needed. So I was surprised the Brewers didn't get in on the Cole Hamels, and maybe they did. This stuff is a little fluid right now. We don't know who bid on who, what was offered, what deals were talked about. It's always speculation this time of year, but, I'm surprised that the Brewers, and I don't know this for sure, weren't as aggressive in trying to get Cole Hamels. Maybe they were, and they just lost out to a better package the Cubs had. But, yeah, I thought the Brewers could have desperately used a Cole Hamels type. So, but it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting if the Brewers have another move in them tomorrow. There's a lot of rumors that the Mets are shopping Zach Wheeler. There's as many as 6 teams after Zach Wheeler. And I know there's some divisiveness between the Met fan base as to whether to trade. Well, I shouldn't say fan base. I think the fans are pretty much kind of don't give them away. If you can get something that blows you away, trade them. If not, keep them. And I'm kind of in the same mindset. I don't know. I'm not buying into this newfound Zach Wheeler. I know Zach Wheeler is pitched great basically the last 2.5 months. He's pitched phenomenal. His ERA, I believe, has gone down every month of the season substantially. And he's picked July, coincidentally, to have his best month, maybe of his career. He's pitched great. He's been dominant. His last start, which was yesterday, probably was his best start of the year, pound for pound. or start for start, pitch for pitch, whatever you want to classify it as. Probably was his best start of the year. And, but I'm still not buying into Wheeler's a tease. Wheeler is a guy, he's a lot like Nathan Eovaldi, another guy that the Red Sox picked up. And I'll get to them in a second. But, Wheeler's a tease. Wheeler will go out there, he'll give you 7 innings, 3 hits, 10 strikeouts, throw 99 on a gun and just look absolutely dominant for 2-3 starts. And then he goes out there against a big team, a big opponent, and he'll get rocked for 10 runs in 5 innings. Like it's just, he's that type of guy. Wheeler, and he's been like that for his entire career. Just up and down. He's just the ultimate tease. Him and Nathan Eovaldi are really kind of similar pitchers. But, I'm of the mindset, look, if I'm the Mets, I would hold out to get to 359 tomorrow. And I would put the pressure on these teams that need a starter. The Indians, the Red Sox, the Yankees. I'm trying to think of another team that could use a starter. The Rockies. We know the teams that are in the postseason contention. A lot of these teams need rotation help. And I would play on some of their desperation. I would play on their desperation. I would play on the fact that a lot of these guys need rotation help. And I would try to get a big time prospect for Wheeler. Now, I don't know if they're going to be able to get a guy like that. I don't think they're going to be able to get a package of what the Red Sox gave up to get Sale. No, I'm not crazy, but I think they can. I think the way Wheeler's pitching, his upside, the fact that he's not a free agent until next year, I think the Mets could probably get a top 10 prospect for him. And I'm no expert at this stuff. I mean, for all I know, the Mets could get a stiff, and it is the Mets, and only the Mets could get and I don't even want to talk about Cespedes. I know what you guys are going to ask me. What's my thoughts on? I don't even want, the Mets don't even deserve to have my opinion on the whole Cespedes debacle. I'll lay off of that, but it is the Mets and they'll figure out a way to fuck it up. But if I'm the Mets, I mean, I could probably get a top 10 prospect I'd be adamant about getting a guy, at least a top 10 organizational prospect. Like a guy that I could sell my fan base as, hey, this is a guy that was worth trading a guy like Wheeler for. A nice young position player, a top 10 prospect in somebody's organization. I'm not crazy. I'm not saying, hey, I'll trade him to a Blue Jays for a Bo Bichette type of prospect, but a 5 through 10 type level prospect. You know what I mean? I think they could probably get a guy back for that, of that ilk, and then maybe a couple pieces that are of lower level pieces. And I think that'd be a decent, look, point is, if the Mets can get a good trade for Zach Wheeler, then I think the Mets should do it. Because at this point, Zach Wheeler's value will never be this high. Even if you keep him, you trade him in the offseason, that to me is lessens his value because you don't know what's going to happen the rest of this year. And then if you keep him into next year, he's a free agent at the end of the year. So he's going to be a rental. If let's say the Mets get off to a horrible start and are sellers again at next year's deadline, now you're trading him as a rental. So the value is going to drop precipitously at that point. So this might be his highest value right now. So I would strike while the iron's hot with the Mets and trade Wheeler. And Wheeler's always been one of those guys that the Met fans have been kind of torn on. Some Met fans like Wheeler. Some Met fans have been like, this guy's never been worth anything. He's always hurt and he's never really pitched as great. I've kind of been on the other end of it. Like, this guy is okay, but he's never really shown us that he's been this great pitcher. And even now, as good as he's pitched, I'm still not buying it. I'm still not sold on it. So to me, if you can get a good, solid return for Wheeler, I'm not getting crazy, obviously, but if you could get a good, solid top 10 prospect and maybe 2 other good, useful pieces for the future, then I think I'd make that deal if I'm the Mets. And I talked about the Red Sox, and the Red Sox to me is the team that I'm putting the most pressure on tomorrow. To me, the Red Sox and it's weird because the Red Sox have the best record in baseball. They're 41 games over 500. Last time I checked, they were still tied with the Phillies going into the 11th inning. And the Yankees just acquired Lance Lynn. So that's interesting. And the Braves just acquired Adam Duvall from the Reds. So, it's coming hot and heavy, man. It's interesting. It's coming hot. And wow, breaking news. The Nationals have announced that Bryce Harper is available. Wow. That's interesting. So the Nationals, who sit one game under 500, are 6 games back in the division. And there was a report coming out today that, there's some clubhouse strife, whatever you want to call it, struggle, strife, whatever. Wow. Interesting. Bryce Harper. Now this ratchets this shit up. Now this is going to be an interesting trade deadline. I don't think they'll trade him. I really don't. I think when push comes to shove, gun to Mike Rizzo's head, I don't think he'll trade him. But now this is interesting. Because now you've added an ultimate trump card to this shit. Now you've added a fucking Maserati to a car show. A fucking Tesla to a car show. This is interesting. Would a team take a risk in getting a rental Bryce Harper? A team like the Indians, who need a bat in the worst way. Wow, that's interesting. Interesting. Yeah. But anyway, the Red Sox to me are a team that's got a lot of pressure on them. And like I was saying, it's weird because they have the best record in baseball. They're 41 games over 500. They're on pace to win 100. I think they're on pace to win something like 110 games or something like that. Something crazy. The Red Sox are clearly the best team in the regular season wise right now in the sport. So it's interesting that a team like that has pressure on them, but I think the Red Sox have pressure on them. Look, we know what the Red Sox are. We know that they have a very good lineup. We know that they have a good rotation. If Price pitches up to his potential, it makes it even better. But the Red Sox, we know what the Red Sox biggest weakness is guys, the bridge to Kimbrel. I don't love that bullpen. Joe Kelly, Matt Barnes, Tyler Thornburg. None of those guys scare anybody. Matter of fact, match that quartet of relievers to the Yankees. Kimbrel, Chapman. I'm taking Chapman. Matt Barnes, Betanzas all the way. Zach Britton or, Tyler Thornburg. I mean, of course, you're taking Britton. Chad Green, Joe Kelly, Chad Green. I mean, so the Red Sox, to me, I don't understand why they weren't aggressive in getting a guy like Familia. I thought Familia would have been perfect for them. And Familia's been lights out for the A's since joining them. I thought the Red Sox would have been after a guy like Familia. The Mets and the Red Sox have made a trade before. Last year, they made a trade for Addison Reed. I know Addison Reed didn't exactly work out for the Red Sox, but a guy like that, a guy of that ilk would have helped the Red Sox, I think. So I was surprised that the Red Sox weren't after Familia. We all know about Zach Britton. We all know about Ozuna. So, I mean, and now the reliever market is pretty much dried up. I mean, I can't think of another guy of high impact that's going to help the Red Sox. And if they don't make that deal, I'll tell you this much, if it's 401 tomorrow and the Red Sox did not make any significant deal for a reliever, I think that's a bad job by Dombrowski. That's a bad job. The Red Sox need another arm in the worst way. In the worst way in that bullpen. And the Red Sox now are going to be, and if they don't make a move, the Red Sox are going to be forced to win a championship, needing their 3 best starters to be great. Not good, great. They're going to need a dominant Chris Sale. They're going to need David Price to finally wake the fuck up or grow some ball, whatever he has to do to finally to live up to his potential in the regular season and the postseason. And Rick Porcello to be good. And that's a dangerous proposition when you're counting on Rick Porcello to be great and dominant. So, I don't know. That's the one thing that would scare me if I'm a Red Sox fan right now. 401 tomorrow afternoon, and they have not secured a big name reliever. I'd be very, very disappointed if I'm a Red Sox fan. And that's a bad job by Dombrowski. And Dombrowski, more than anybody, knows the importance of building a bullpen. Dombrowski would have 2 championships right now, arguably, if he had handled that bullpen better in Detroit. So, it's going to be interesting. It's a flurry of moves that were made tonight. So it's going to be interesting. It is going to be definitely interesting what more moves come. And now this Bryce Harper thing, I think ratchets this shit up even more, because now that the Nationals have basically made it known that, hey, best offer for Bryce Harper, I think you're going to have some teams that are going to be, I think the Indians are going to be in play. You got to believe the Stankies are going to be in play at some point. Yes, even the Yankees, who don't really have a need for him. I know Judge is hurt. Still, they don't really have a need for him, but it is the Yankees, and they like to buy players in championships, so that's what they're going to do. But, the Yankees are going to be in on him. You would think a team like maybe the A's would be in on him. Wow, that adds another wrinkle to this. Maybe the Diamondbacks, a team like that. I mean, who knows? Who knows? The Diamondbacks need a bat. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be very, very interesting what happens with Bryce Harper. So, wow. I wasn't expecting that tonight. I mean, there had been murmurs, and obviously that had been a talking point in talk radio and, on MLB Network and all, throughout the weeks of if the Nationals are still kind of treading water, still playing the way that they are. And obviously nothing that they've shown over the last few weeks has changed that. Would they deal Bryce Harper? Would it be the smart move to do? And I still believe, push comes to shove, I don't think they'll trade him. But now that they've made him available, I think they've at least decided, I think that internally, I think they've decided, hey, let's listen to the best offers. And if we get blown away by something, realistically, I don't think even the Nationals can't expect to get, a fucking king's ransom for Bryce Harper, a rental Bryce Harper. Cause more than Machado, he's going to test free agency. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be very, very, very interesting. Sticking with the baseball topic for a little bit. These tweets, man, bruh, if you're a baseball player right now, if you're a celebrity in general, I'll say this, if you're a celebrity in general, forget baseball. Cause I think that now the narrative is that, baseball has a problem. All these baseball players with their racist, homophobic, insensitive tweets. I think it's been more prevalent amongst baseball players right now, obviously, because those are the guys that have gotten their shit uncovered and put out there. But I mean, I think it's prevalent throughout all sports. I mean, just a couple months ago, Dante DiVincenzo's tweets were put out there. Obviously, we all remember Josh Allen's tweets, right? I think it was like either right after the draft or right before the draft or the night of the draft. I think it was after the draft, I believe. I don't remember. I know even it's been a couple months, but Josh Allen and his litany of tweets from years and years ago. And I've said it before. I think this new trend is kind of corny. Going back, digging up fucking tweets and putting them out there. Tweets from guys. No, I'm not making excuses, because if you say something stupid, you say something fucking stupid. I don't care if you were 18, 19, 30, 35. Like, if you say something stupid, you say something stupid. If you say something offensive, you say something offensive. If you say something homophobic, you say something homophobic. So I'm not sitting here trying to defend anybody. I'm not trying to justify anything, but I do think the practice of it all is kind of corny. I get it. It's the 21st century and we have the ability to do this shit. So it was bound to happen one time, I'm surprised it hasn't happened before, clearly, but it's happening more and more. So obviously it's becoming a trend, and I kind of find it corny, me personally. But be that as it may, if you're an athlete right now, how are you not going? Matter of fact, how are you not just deleting if you're an athlete that's had your Twitter account since before you were quote unquote famous, how do you still have that Twitter account? How do you still have that social media account? How do you still have that Instagram or that Twitter account or that Facebook page? Or get rid of that shit. Get rid of that shit. What are you still doing with the same account? Obviously, we know about Josh Hader, all his tweets that came out the week of the All-Star game. And, just this weekend, you had tweets from Trey Turner. Who was the other guy that had, Sean Newcomb? That's the guy. Damn, I completely spaced out on that shit. I don't know why I couldn't get the other name out of my head what the fuck is the guy's name? Sean Newcomb, pitcher for the Braves, who, his tweets came to light yesterday. Coincidentally, as he's pitching a no-hitter, fucking his past tweets come to light, man. Look, if you're an athlete right now, do yourself a favor. Delete your fucking social media. And it's interesting that I'm talking about this topic because my family gets on me all the time. You guys know I'm a serial tweeter and social media guy, and they get mad at me for the shit that I tweet or stuff that I post on Facebook, memes and stuff like that. And I think I'm tame. First of all, there's levels to shit. Just like anything, there's levels to things. like I post memes, like I curse and say some stuff, but most of the stuff to me is like innocent. Like most of my shit is like PG-13. I don't post anything sexual. I don't say derogatory, homophobic things to people. So I think I'm pretty tame for the most part. Have I crossed the line at times? I think my wife would be the first to answer and say yes. And I agree. I've crossed the line. And bro, I guarantee y'all, like if this podcast shit blows up, if this sports media shit blows up, I will be the first person deleting I'll delete this audio. I will delete every single social media site. I don't care. I'll delete everything. I'll go back and delete my tag, everything. I'm showing my age here, tagged in MySpace, but I'll go back and delete every motherfucking thing. Like I will leave no traces of me being on social media in these sites. Like I will create everything brand new. Matter of fact, I might do that shit now, just cause. But it's crazy, man. I mean, if you're an athlete, if you're a celebrity, I mean, dog, like, you just got to get rid of this shit. Like, you can't, I mean, like, dog, like, motherfuckers got the same Twitter account since 2010. Like, why? Like, you're a celebrity now. Like, you were in high school then when you had that Twitter account. Like, get rid of that shit. Why do you still have the same Twitter account? Like, and why haven't you gone in and deleted this shit? Now, I know a lot of them will probably say, like, I forgot that I even tweeted half this shit. Like, I was fucking 19. Like, and I get it. I understand. But it's like, bro, do yourself a favor. Just delete this shit. Delete all of it. All of it. Delete all of it. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say. I will say that I don't want to sit here and push this narrative that baseball and baseball players have this homophobic, racist culture about. I think it's all athletes. I really do. I think it's every sport. I'm sure if you start digging through NFL players, it's happened obviously with Josh Allen. I mean, if you start digging through a lot of NFL players, past tweets and Instagram posts and shit, you'll see some offensive shit. I'm sure you'll find some offensive shit on NBA players shit. I'm sure you'll find something on hockey players. It's already happened. I mean, so I don't want to sit there. I know the narrative today and, Outside the Lines did a thing on it today that, baseball and it's, social media, controversy and culture and the narrative that's going to be spewed out there, and not that I'm trying to cape for Major League Baseball because, if it needs to be criticized, it needs to be criticized. I get it. But what I don't want is I don't want to make this narrative now that it's just that this is just a baseball problem. Yes, the most number of cases have occurred in Major League Baseball players, but does anybody really think that it's just baseball players? I mean, no. Most smart fans know that this is an issue with just a lot of dumb kids tweeting dumb shit when they were younger in all sports. And somebody's going back and digging this shit up. And I think that athletes now, and I think it's going to become part of kind of your indoctrination as a rookie, that I think, teams and leagues are going to set up policies where, hey man, we can't tell you what to tweet, but if you ever tweeted something that was insensitive or could have been deemed insensitive, or if you don't even remember, but you think you might have, hell, if you didn't, just go back and, even if you didn't, go back and fucking delete your old Twitter account. Just get everything brand new. Don't go back and use the same. No, just delete everything. You're better off that way. And this is amazing coming from me because I always get bitched at by my family for, going too far on social media, which is amazing that now I'm preaching this. But, it's amazing, man. Motherfuckers is digging up your tweets and trying to just destroy people's characters. Like, bro. And some of the shit's like the Josh Hader one. And I wish I would have did the show 2 weeks ago. Milwaukee. Come on now. Really? Now, I have a little bit of a connection with Milwaukee because I have family from Milwaukee. My aunt lived in Milwaukee for 30 something years. So I'm not going to sit here and say that I know Wisconsin or I know Milwaukee. I've been there a few times. I've always found it to be a nice city. Yes, they have issues just like any other city with police and racial strife and all that other shit. But bruh, like, y'all can't be fucking serious. Like, come on me. Like, to give Josh Hader a second standing ovation after basically all the shit that came to light that he tweeted. Like, come on. Like, I mean, I get it. And I tweeted this. Like, I get it. It's the thing to do for sports fans to cheer and applaud their guy when they get in trouble or some kind of controversy. I get it. It's the thing to do. But I mean, you have to have more common sense than that. Like, you have to have, like, you can't be that fucking tone deaf as a fan base. Like, I'm not saying boo the fucking guy, although that would have been ideal. I'm not saying boo the guy, but I mean, fuck, a standing ovation. I mean, you would have thought that this motherfucker came back from Iraq. Like he fought a war, like he took 3 years off his life, fought for our freedoms and fought for our country and came back and now is able to pitch again. Like, no, this dude tweeted racist shit. But hey, standing ovation. Yay. Our conquering hero is here. Like, really? Really? Come on. That's the earliest foul I've given on this show. So a pre-fouls of the week foul to the Milwaukee Brewer fan base. Y'all should be fucking ashamed of yourselves. But anyway, yeah, man, I don't know. I don't know what you can do, but I think leagues are going to have to start getting into it and just saying, hey, or at least telling the Players Association, like, yo, y'all need to make sure these dudes is not tweeting stupid shit out before the age of fucking 19. And if they are, go ahead and fucking delete the shit. Like, it's stupid. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. And I'm sure there's more. I'm sure there's more stuff to come out. You know, I'm pretty sure that there's more stuff to come out. And again, the narrative right now is that it's a baseball problem. It's every sport. It's every fucking sport. Every sport. And more shit's going to come out. More stuff is going to come out. So, man, it's crazy. It's crazy. I wanted to talk about Mr. Dak Prescott, who was in the news last week for, you know, his comments about the whole kneeling controversy, the whole kneeling, players protesting and kneeling for the flag and the whole thing that just won't go away. Obviously we know that the Cowboys have been one of the many organizations, the few that have been kind of outspoken. Them, the Dolphins have been kind of the two main ones that have been kind of, and the Buccaneers have been like at the forefront of like the NFL teams and fan bases saying we're not tolerating this shit and that, you know, you stand for the flag and blah, 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 da, 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 you know, the extra OG Patriot shit. Extra patriot, like basically, you know, beer, Bible, handgun, American flag toting motherfuckers. But anyway, so the Cowboys and Jerry Jones, that idiot, you know, this is the same Jerry Jones that, you know, has had affairs with women, has been accused of harassment of young ladies. I mean, all kinds of shit. This is the same brilliant, sterling individual that Jerry Jones is. You know, he's basically come out and say that, you know, they're not going to tolerate guys, you know, not standing for the anthem and guys will be fined and blah, blah, blah. He's been outspoken about this shit. Well, of course, Dak Prescott, who happens to be black, or I think he's half black, isn't he? Or he's all the way black. I don't know. I mean, he's black. Anyway, he's black. And, he's starting quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, America's team. And he was asked about his thoughts on the whole anthem controversy and kneeling and whatnot. And he basically said that I don't think that's the place or the place or the time to protest that. He kind of gave a really diplomatic answer, and he's been getting basically ripped to shreds by anyone and everyone, who's in favor of the anthem protests. And I can't blame anybody for ripping him. Like, dude, like, first of all, before you're Dak Prescott, star quarterback for the fucking Dallas Cowboys, before you're a football player, before you're anything else, you're an African American man in the United States of America. Like, before anything else, that's what you are. And for you to come out and say, and look, I'm not one of these guys that thinks that every black athlete should have basically black power fist up in the air protesting everything. Like, some people just are not political. Some people are just not into, you know, going out there. They're not going to necessarily make their views known, but they're not overly going to be, you know, one way or another, but they're not overly going to bash one particular side over the other. But to sit there and basically say that, like, come on, dude. Like, even if he wasn't trying to sound like a fucking Uncle Tom and a cornball, he made himself sound like an Uncle Tom and a cornball. Like, you just don't, like, and then not to mention, he basically does this, and this gets transcribed and tweeted out and put out there. And then like maybe like an hour or two before that, the Players Association had put out a notice that's saying that, you know, we're stand united and letting our players kneel and stand together for their right to protest and yada yada and da-da-da-da-da-da. And then Dak Prescott, one of their most well-known players, this quarterback for America's team, the biggest franchise in the sport, Nah, this kneeling thing, it's not the time and place for that shit. Like, nah, I'm not really with this whole kneeling shit. You know what I mean? Like, nah, like, really, Dak? Really? That's how you feel? Players protesting injustices going on in the African American community, players protesting a country that, goes out there and tells you that it's about freedom and all men are created equal, yet black men get killed and jailed at a disproportionate rate compared to whites or any other race or ethnic group. The same country that sits there and does nothing as police officers continue to slaughter African American men and children. And these are all that these athletes are protesting. That's it. They're protesting because they want something done, because they want to, and I'm not trying to get too much into this diatribe. We've talked about it ad nauseum almost 2 years that we've been a podcast. So I'm not going to rehash any of these things, but this is what these guys are protesting. They're not protesting, hey, we want more money. They're not protesting, hey, we want less games. They're not protesting, hey, we want luxury breakfasts during training camp. Like, we're not protesting dumb shit. They're protesting societal issues. Things that matter to a large group of people. And you're going to sit there and say, you know what? I don't think it's a time or place to protest. I don't really have an opinion one way or another. Or blah, blah, blah. You were better off just saying nothing. He was better off just deflecting the question, not answering it, not saying anything. Sometimes it's better to just not say anything. If you're not going to say what you need to say, then you're better off not saying anything. Because then you make yourself look like an asshole and a jackass and fucking tone deaf. And again, Jerry Jones now. Jerry Jones is going to play the moral authority of the NFL. Jerry Jones. This is the same organization. Again, this is the same organization that had Josh Brent on a sideline not even 24 hours after he got behind the wheel of a car, drove it, and killed his teammate while he was intoxicated. And had him on the sideline. The sideline! Cheering his team on. The man had just killed his teammates. But this is the organization now that's going to take a stance against protests? This organization, this owner, the same guy, the same organization that's got this staunch, hardline stance against all protests, against the flag. And they go out and sign Greg Hardy? Greg Hardy? A guy who threw his pregnant girlfriend on a bed of guns. Guns! And I know what some of you will say. Oh, well, he got off. No, he didn't get off. He paid her off. She didn't show up to court. He paid her off. But I got to listen to Jerry Jones now be the moral police and tell us and be the Mr. American Patriot and tell us how wrong we are for protesting and how wrong these players are for protesting injustices going on with their people. You got to be fucking kidding me. Shout out to Dale Hansen, sports broadcaster in the Dallas local area. Guy who's been there for 50 years or so. Well-known, award-winning guy, and a guy that just keeps it all too real. And he's a white guy. And he just constantly rips into the fucking NFL and the hypocrisy of this shit. And it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And now Dak Prescott's in the middle of it because instead of him I would have loved to see Dak Prescott say, I know what my organization, because it's one thing when a DB does it or a lineman does it. And by does it, I mean kneels or protests or stays in the locker room or whatever, doesn't stand for the national anthem. But when Dak Prescott, the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, does it, I find it very interesting what the Cowboys are going to do if he did that. I would find it very, very interesting. Instead, he pleads the fifth, basically. He gives the overly political answer, or what they want to hear, and he makes himself look like a fucking jackass. Come on, Dak. Come on, Dak. Come on, brother. Come back to me. Come back to us. Come back to us. All right? Come back to us. Unbelievable.
Brothers and sisters! No children. Brothers and sisters! I don't know what this world is coming to.
Fouls of the week. And my foul of the week this week, I got 2 fouls of the week. Well, really, technically 3. I already issued my first foul earlier to the Milwaukee Brewers fan base for that dumbass fucking standing ovation they gave Josh Hader. You know, Josh Hader basically goes out there and says, I hate gays, lesbians, and all kinds of shit. And then, hey, our hero, woohoo! Like, really? Really? That's what y'all gonna do? So that was the first foul this week. My second foul this week is to DeMar DeRozan. Now, obviously, you guys know DeMar DeRozan was traded for Kawhi Leonard. The Kawhi Leonard saga finally over. And real quickly, I don't know why so many people are saying that the Raptors won that trade. At best, it's an even trade. And I honestly think the Spurs actually won that trade. To me, Kawhi Leonard's never, I gotta believe it. And I know we said this last year with Paul George and Oklahoma City. I think this is a different situation. I think Oklahoma City, Toronto doesn't have a Russell Westbrook. OKC does. I think it's very, very different. Completely different. And I find it hard to believe. You're basically going to have to prove to me this time next year, Kawhi Leonard's going to stay in Toronto. I just don't see it. I don't see it. And if he doesn't stay in Toronto, then what was the point of this trade? If he's not going to resign there, then you basically gave up a guy who's been your cornerstone. And I'm not knocking Toronto for trading him. I'm not knocking them for trading him. They had to do something. They had to tear it up because they were not going to win with that team. As currently constituted, they were not going to win a championship with that team. And I don't think they're going to win a championship now, but I definitely don't think they're going to win a championship. And they had to do something different. And I don't blame them for making the move. But you can't tell me that they won this trade. The only way that they win this trade is if they're able to keep Kawhi Leonard long term. If they're able to sign him to a max contract and keep him in Toronto for the next 4 or 5 years. If they do that, then they win the trade. Then they won the trade. No arguments. No discussion. But if they don't, at best, it's an even trade. At worst, San Antonio won. And I'm honestly going to tell you that I think San Antonio won. They got 2 years of DeMar DeRozan. And guys go to San Antonio and tend to play better. Not including LaMarcus Aldridge, but hey, I think it was a worthwhile gamble by both franchises. I think the Spurs had to get rid of him, and I think Toronto had to make the trade. Now, I think it's too early to decide who won. But if you had to put a gun to my head and you asked me who won, I think the Spurs won. Honestly, they got Kawhi out of that locker room. I think it's almost addition by subtraction in a lot of ways. And I think DeMar's going to be good for them. I think, he's not as good as Kawhi Leonard. We know that. But they had to make that deal. And again, the only way Toronto wins this trade is if he resigns there. If he doesn't resign there, then then I'm not going to say what was the point of this trade, but you can't say that they won the trade. And they're not going to win a championship next year anyway. So even if he stays there for 1 year and helps them win a championship, they're not going to win. They're not going to do that. They're not going to win a championship. Now, my foul goes to DeMar DeRozan because DeMar DeRozan basically is acting like, his kids were kidnapped. Like, DeMar, I get it. You love Toronto. You were there for 9 years. They drafted you. They gave you an opportunity. I know that Masai Ujiri wasn't exactly telling and forthright in his plans to keep you or trade you, supposedly lied to you. I get all that. But I mean, dude, get over it. Get over it. Like, it's a trade. They didn't shoot your wife. They didn't kidnap your kids. They didn't steal money from you. Like, Like, enough. Like, oh my God. It was on and on about how hurt he was and depressed, and his relationship with Ujiri is never going to be the same. Enough. Jeez. Like, Jesus fucking Christ. Like, bro. Like, you'll live. You're going to San Antonio. They didn't trade you to Siberia. My foul of the week to DeMar DeRozan. Like, I felt like he was going to write a fucking telenovela. Like, seriously, bro? Like, enough. And like, why did they trade us? Like, what do you mean, why did they traded you? You guys have been inept. You haven't been able to get out of the first. You haven't been able to beat LeBron. You haven't been able to get out of the Eastern Conference. Like, they had to do something. I mean, he just kept going on and on and on. And Jesus Christ. I mean, he just kept going on and on all last week about this trade and how hurt he was and, you know, how emotional it was to leave Toronto. And I get it. I understand. But I mean, geez, it's DeMar DeRozan. DeMar DeRozan. The Edmonton Oilers traded Wayne Gretzky, who was a national icon in Toronto. The Oilers, they traded Wayne Gretzky. The Raptors are not supposed to trade DeMar DeRozan? Sheesh. Enough. God almighty. Like, oh my God. The dude is just having a fucking emotional breakdown. He got traded. And it's not like they traded you to Siberia. It's not like they traded you to the Nets. They traded you to the Spurs. I'd rather be on the Spurs. To be honest, this was the same guy that got benched in crunch time of playoff games because he was terrible. So my second foul of the week goes to DeMar DeRozan. Lighten the fuck up. You'll be okay. You'll live. You're still making $28 million a year, and you're on San Antonio with one of the 5 best coaches in the history of basketball. I think you'll be all right, DeMar. I think you'll be okay. I think you'll live. You'll be all right. I'm sure you'll get over it. And then my final foul for this week, or for these last 2 weeks, I should say. I don't know I don't know how many people were watching the Braves Dodgers game on Saturday night, but so the Dodgers apparently, like many teams, but apparently the Dodgers are one of the most infamous ones to do this. The Dodgers are one of the teams that kind of does their batting practice, you know, basically in kind of casual attire, basically. They don't really wear their uniforms. They kind of do it shorts, sneakers, whatever the attire may call for. They basically have no real set uniform for their batting practice. And I know some teams really do this. Other teams kind of just have their standard batting practice unis. Other teams kind of have a little bit more liberal, stance on the whole batting practice uniforms. And some teams can have shorts or t-shirts or whatever. So anyway, apparently, this angered and upset the Braves broadcasting team, specifically Joe Simpson, who went on basically a 6-minute diatribe, basically just destroying the Dodgers team because how dare they be so unprofessional and not wear batting practice uniforms, and, you know, that's not playing the game the right way, and blah, blah, blah. You know, the old baseball man, get off my lawn shit, you know, that we've heard countless of other times. But this has been but this time, this was the most kind of just comical version of that. Like, this man is basically going on a 6-minute rant about a uniform, about what not uniforms worn during a game situation, but batting practice. Like, who gives a flying fuck about uniforms and batting practice? But Joe Simpson is going on and on and on, and how he played for the Dodgers organization, and the Dodgers used to stand for something, and yada yada, and dee and blah 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 blah, and on and on and on and on and on and on and on. Mind you, Joe Simpson played 50 games for the Dodgers. It's not like he spent 8 years with the Dodgers. He played a total of like 50 games for the Dodgers. Now I get what he was saying. He came up as he came up in the Dodgers organization, but whatever. 50 games, Joe. Okay. 50. You didn't play 5 years for the Dodgers. You played 50 games in the big leagues. Anyway, Like, so this idea that you know the Dodgers organization it's a little misleading. But whatever. Be that as it may. Like, this dude just went on a fucking diatribe, just berating the Dodgers. Chase Utley, who, look, I never defend Chase Utley. I can't stand the fucker. I'm counting the days so he finally fucking officially retires at the end of the year. I'm no Chase Utley fan, as you guys know, but I mean, he's ripping Chase Utley. Mind you, Chase Utley's wearing a K for cancer shirt. K to cancer shirt. One of those K to cancer shirts. So basically, kick-ass cancer shirt. Whatever. And he's wearing one of those shirts and he's ripping the guy. I used to think Chase Utley played the game the right way and blah, 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 blah. And yada, yada, yada. The auto's out there on YouTube. You just Google it. You can hear it. This dude is just, and then of course the wonderful Chip Carey, that guy, who's, I just never liked. He always just seemed like a fucking dweeb. Every team he called games for, from when he started out with the Cubs to now with the Braves, extra homer, extra homer, real just dweebish looking fucking guy. Like, I just never could stand Chip Carey. This was a guy that basically TBS couldn't wait to get the hell up out of there when he was doing national baseball games in 07 and 08. That's how bad he was. Just, they couldn't wait. They basically escorted him out of the building. That's how bad he was. Chip Carey added, you would think Major League Baseball and all the money they spend, making these batting practice uniforms and guys, and players are not honoring and wearing those uniforms. How are people supposed to tell who's who? Really, Chip? Really? It's 2018. Some kid out there or some man out there or some lady out there is not going to know who Justin Turner is, when they could easily just Google who Justin Turner is and then, oh, that's Justin Turner. Oh, hey, yeah, that's Justin Turner. Or who Matt Kemp is, or who Kike Hernandez is, or who Yasiel Puig is. Like, really? That was your diatribe? They're not gonna know who it is? Like, come the fuck on. Like, seriously? Don't you guys have bigger fish to fry? Like the Braves being in a pennant race? But you're worried about what the fucking Dodgers wear to batting practice? And this is the problem with baseball. This right here, this very instance, this dumbass rant is the problem with baseball. And then they wonder why they can't attract young fans and why, when it comes to like pop culture and relevance, the NBA and the NFL have dwarfed the Major League Baseball. It's because shit like this. Because old white men, that's not how the game is to be played. You have to be buttoned down and put your head down and respect the game and all this other dumb shit. Like, shut up. Shut the fuck up. Like, enough already with these stupid diatribes and rants about nothing. The get off my lawn, don't tread on me arguments. Like, enough. And I can see if the Dodgers were wearing fucking, Speedos or bikinis out there. Like, they were fucking wearing t-shirts and shorts. Who gives a shit? It's batting practice. It's batting practice. Oh, I couldn't believe that rant. And I didn't watch it live. I just researched. I just happened to just, put on USA Today, USA Today Sports, and there it is. Dodgers announcer goes on a rant against Dodgers, or Braves announcer goes on a rant against Dodgers, and I just couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. Like, really? This is what we're talking about in 2018. Baseball's got bigger shit to deal with right now. Bigger things to worry about. But we're worried about what a team wears or doesn't wear to batting practice. Batting practice. Come on now. So my third foul of the week goes to Joe Simpson and Chip Carey. They deserve it. Jesus fucking Christ. Oh, my goodness. Yeah. Amazing. Anyways, that's it for this week, man. I'm going to get up out of here. I've ranted and raved long enough. I'm going to get up out of here. As always, you guys know where to find this show. It's available on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn Radio, anywhere where you can find podcasts for free. We're there. Follow us on social media. The TF Podcast 1 on Twitter, the TF Podcast on Instagram, the Technical Foul Podcast on Facebook. Join the TFP Nation fan group. Same deal as always. I said it at the beginning of the podcast that I had a little bit of an announcement to make. You guys knew for a couple weeks now, or a few weeks back, actually, I announced that I was changing the name of the podcast. A few other shows had similar names, and I just and I felt like it was time for, getting close to being on the, being a podcast for 2 years. I wanted to rebrand the show a little bit, change a little bit of the format, not too much. It's going to be still the same format or similar. But we're getting bigger. We're getting better. We're getting more listeners by the week. So it felt like it was a good time to rebrand, to get bigger, to get better, to commemorate, almost being 2 years on the air. Plus to change it up a little bit. Obviously we have some other podcasts with similar names. So to kind of not be derivative, not taking shots at anybody, but whatever. It is what it is. Other podcasts have our name. So, to kind of change that up and to eliminate some confusion, we decided to change the name. And after weeks of scouring different ideas, because I was going basically brain dead on ideas, I finally decided to just kind of keep it simple. Our fan group, obviously, like I said, was TFP Nation. So I already call the fans TFP Nation. So why not call the podcast TFP Nation? I know it's not pretty ingenious, but I figured just keep it simple. So it's still the same kind of aura of Technical Foul, but, without calling it Technical Foul, basically. So we're going to call it TFP Nation, the TFP Nation podcast. Keep it that name. I've got a new logo being drawn up, working on a website, kind of a different hosting situation. So to kind of, doing some housekeeping on that end of things for the podcast. But just kind of wanted to announce you guys where we were at with that. So I have selected a name, TFP Nation. Everybody's been pretty receptive of it. Some people have just been like, really? I name it TFP Nation. My wife wasn't too keen on the name, but whatever. She's like, whatever. Do what you want to do, baby. So TFP Nation. I mean, if I think of something better, I'm not against it, but I think TFP Nation works. Why not, right? I think it works. So we're going to stick with TFP Nation. And as far as format, I mean, it's still going to be the same. It's still me talking shit, but I'm going to have weekly guests. While the current format is kind of having a rotating host, maybe sporadic guests here and there, we're going to have guests lined up every week. So, I already got a few guests lined up that I have in mind that are going to be in keen. And we're going to have guests of all different, persuasions. We're going to have, obviously sports writers, in the sports field, but we're also going to have movie critics. We're going to have guys that talk about hip hop. We're going to talk about, we're going to have some dead end guys, of course, that want to come on. So I already got a list of guests that I want to have on the show, that I want to interview, that I want to talk about. Obviously the show will still be sports, but I'm mixing a different flavor to it. But the show, the format will still be for the most part the same. Me bringing the heat as always, just with guests every week. And every week will be a different guest, depending on the news of that week or the theme of what I want to talk about with that guest. That'll dictate what the guest will be. So, some weeks I want to talk about an NFL story. I have an NFL guest on, baseball guest, basketball. Some weeks it may not be a specific topic that I want to focus on. I may have a guest that I want to talk about to do a review about a movie or a TV show, whatever. So I'll try to keep it in the sports vein, but we may branch out here and there depending on the news. But, yeah, man, that's basically it. It's going to be some changes. My boy is working on the logo and the banners and all this stuff to change the name officially. And I got to go through the process of changing the RSS feed and all that, and changing some things around and all that. So it's going to be a few weeks before the name officially takes place. And I'll announce it when it'll be finalized and going through officially, so that you guys can kind of be prepared and update yourselves and whatever. So I'll let you guys know when everything goes into effect. But yeah, man, changing the name, I feel like it's a good thing. I feel like it's a really good thing for us. I really do. I feel like it's a really good thing for the podcast. I'm proud of it. I'm happy with it. So, I think it's going to be good. I'm looking forward to it. So, just wanted to keep you guys posted on that. Thank you for everybody that sent over names. I had people DM me. I had people email me, different naming ideas. And I just want to thank everybody that, that sent those in, man. I truly appreciate it. And as always, I just want to thank everybody that listens, man. At the end of the day, we could talk about rebranding and picking different names and choosing different names. But at the end of the day, we wouldn't be here as a podcast. We wouldn't be doing this for almost 2 years. This show, if it wasn't for you guys. So, from the bottom of my heart, not to get too sappy, not to get all DeMar DeRozan like on y'all, but, I just want to thank everybody, man. Everybody that listens every week. Whether you listen to every episode, whether you pick and choose or cherry pick episodes, or, if you're behind up, whatever, however your listening habits on, everybody that listens to the podcast, man. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for supporting the show. Without you guys, there is no podcast. So, from the bottom of my heart, I truly mean it, man. Thank you. But all right, enough with the sappiness. Enough with the in-house news and all that. I'm going to get up out of here. I hope you guys enjoy your week. It's been a heat wave throughout the country, so I hope you guys are staying cool. It's been hot as fucking Washington. Hopefully the weather will go down here soon enough. Still summer, but more close to 75 where I like it. Anytime it gets above 84, I'm like, all right, bro, like this needs to stop. So it's been 90 for a few days in a row. It's been 80. It's been muggy basically this entire weekend was muggy. Today was muggy. So hopefully it rains. I can't even believe that I'm saying this, but hopefully it rains. Not a lot, but a little bit so that, we can get some fresh air in here. But yeah, man, stay cool, stay safe as always, man. I hope you guys have a happy and safe and blessed rest of you guys this week. We will be back next week. No hiatuses, no vacations. We're here till the end of the year, hopefully. Unless something comes up, family emergency or whatever. We're here for the rest of the year, man. Football season's starting to ramp up. The Jets finally decided to sign Sam Darnold. I almost gave him a foul, but they got it done today. If they hadn't gotten that shit done, like they would have been the only foul this week. The Jets fucking around with Sam Darnold about some fucking, money, basically. The Jets being cheap. The Jets picked the worst inopportune time to be cheap. They finally got a guy who has the potential to be their franchise quarterback, and they're basically playing hardball over a few million dollars. Yeah. So, but anyway, not to veer off the topic a little bit. Yeah, just signed Sam Darnold. So I'm happy about that. But yeah, man, hope you guys have a happy, safe, blessed week. We'll be here next week with another episode of the podcast. Thank you for listening, man. Just thank you. Again, I'm repeating my words here, but I'm so thankful for everybody that listens, man. So yeah, man, I'm gonna get up out of here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. I am your host, Manny Fresh, and I am out. Peace.
Serious Sarah.